What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today, what I want to get into is Aaron Rodgers speaking on Robert Saleh's firing. He went on the Pat McAfee show, and also changes coming on offense. So Aaron Rodgers usually goes on the Pat McAfee show every single Tuesday, but yesterday was a very busy day in Jets land. You might have missed it, but the New York Jets having new head coach Robert Saleh out, Jeff Ulbrich in, and some people on the internet ran with Aaron Rodgers being the culprit for Robert Saleh being fired. There was a theory out there that Robert Saleh said he was going to fire and or demote Nathaniel Hackett. Rodgers then went to Woody Johnson, and then Woody Johnson fired Robert Saleh because of that. Now, that theory, in my opinion, has flaws because, one, why would they not then just make Nathaniel Hackett the interim head coach if Rodgers really loves Hackett so much and wanted to go to Hackett and this was the Rodgers run team? And then two, which we'll get into, why would Aaron Rodgers, Jeff Ulbrich, and Woody Johnson, the three most powerful guys outside of Joe Douglas, right? Yeah, quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, owner, and new head coach. Why would they all be talking about in the last 24 hours or so the need for changes on offense? So anyway, Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee. He clears some things up. Here was his exact quote: "I resent any of those accusations because they are patently false." Rodgers said that he had a good relationship with Robert Saleh and he was caught off guard by it. The timeline that he gave is that he got a call from Woody Johnson on Monday. They discussed Aaron Rodgers getting banged up in the game. He was asking to call and see if he was okay, how he was doing after he got folded in half like a pretzel against the Minnesota Vikings. That's what they discussed. He then said that on Tuesday morning, he was in the facility getting treatment on said ankle. He suffered a low ankle sprain, is going to be playing through that. And that's when he found out the news. Then the Jets Leadership Council, so that's like, think Rodgers, Quinnen Williams, CJ Mosley, they all met with Jeff Ulbrich and ownership. That's the timeline of how this happened. And that's not just what Rodgers said. That's pretty much what every single step has said. Rodgers reported it that way. Woody Johnson reported it that way. And NFL insider Peter Schrager reported it that way. And Peter Schrager is the one that I trust the most. That's why I always go to him on his mock drafts and some of his predictions. He's a very accurate prediction guy, and I think he had the right information here. Think risk-free profits from sports betting sounds too good to be true? Well, it's real. It's very real, actually, and you can secure guaranteed profits with OddsJam's arbitrage betting tool. Imagine buying sneakers for $10, flipping them for $20. Arbitrage betting works the exact same way. Sportsbooks all price their markets differently to stand out and get customers, and this creates opportunities for you to bet on both sides of a game and lock in profit no matter who wins. OddsJam scans millions of odds from all different kinds of sports books, and as soon as it spots an arbitrage opportunity, you get alerted. Minimal effort, maximum risk-free profit. Don't just take my word for it. You could try it for yourself with a 7-day free trial. Use the link below and enter code O'Leary for 35% off your first month. Also, on the Pat McAfee show, before Aaron Rodgers even came on, McAfee was kind of dispelling that, saying like, why would Rodgers want a change in season, just 5 games in? That's really only 5 games working with Robert Saleh at that point. He knows what he has to do, and that's what Rodgers said. Like, it essentially doesn't change anything. The offense has to get it in gear. They have to do their job. I don't know how much going from Saleh to Ulbrich really impacts Aaron Rodgers, even though we did talk about like, hey, I did have a good relationship with Saleh. He was one of the reasons why he wanted to come here. But this is a move that was made because, and the word keeps coming up, so I'm going to keep repeating it, but from the players in that room, the word that keeps coming up is accountability. I think the Jets lost that, and my hope, we'll see, I hope it changes, but my hope is that Jeff Ulbrich does a better job of holding the guys accountable, and the players in general are just more accountable in this season. Here's another quote. This tweet is from Connor Hughes. So he says, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show regarding Nate Hackett said there was going to be changes and the team was going to, quote, adjust some things no matter what happened with Robert Saleh. Rodgers said he's on board with whatever Jeff Ulbrich decides. And then this is now Connor Hughes speaking. Sounds very much like Todd Downing will be the play caller. I think that's what's happening here. Robert Saleh was on the verge of making that decision. He gets let go. I think it's going to continue that way. We haven't seen Jeff Ulbrich come out and just flat out say, yep, it's Todd Downing calling the plays, but neither Aaron Rodgers, Woody Johnson, or Jeff Ulbrich gave some sort of, ringing endorsement of the job that Nate Hackett has done and said that he is going to continue to call the plays. They're saying that I feel like they are indirectly saying we are looking at everything and we're going to make changes. What is the change that they can make? The freaking play caller. I'm not saying you fire him. It doesn't seem like he is going to be fired, but it sounds like the actual game day is going to change a little bit. And maybe it's going to be Todd Downing who's the one calling plays. Now, believe me, I am not going to paint this as Todd Downing being like this complete savior. And now the Jets are going to have this elite level offense putting up 34 points every single week. I can't go there because Todd Downing wasn't all that good. His best year was in 2021. The Titans went 12-5 that year, and they finished 17th in yards and 15th in points. Now, that'd be a huge improvement from where the Jets have been offensively. They'd sign up for that. But in 2022, the year before he was hired, they were 30th in yards and 28th in points. And they hired him, the 30th in yards guy and 28th in points guy, and they also hired Nathaniel Hackett, who was worse. He was even worse. So remember, like yesterday, everyone pointing out like, hey, Robert Saleh's defense has done such a great job. How could they fire Robert Saleh? Why would they fire Robert Saleh? He has nothing to do with the offense. Like Robert Saleh wasn't the one who brought in Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing and Keith Carter and Tony Dews and the whole rest of the rejects from the Tennessee Titans staff. Saleh put the staff together. I know he's not sitting there like calling the plays, and yes, he is a defensive coach at heart, and I think that's where he ends up. I think he will be one of the first defensive coordinators hired. I would not be surprised if he ends up going back to San Francisco or maybe he goes to Green Bay. Like he is going to get a call very, very quickly to be a defensive coordinator again. But one of his flaws, one of the many flaws at head coach was the staff that he put together on the offensive side of the football. In year one, there was some hope because you had Mike LaFleur, who was an up-and-coming guy, right? And they brought in Greg Knapp, who unfortunately passed away in just a horrible accident. Like, you can't plan for that. But that was supposed to be the veteran presence in the offensive room, and then they never really replaced that. Connor Hughes was reporting that the Jets were very interested in bringing in Arthur Smith, and they just couldn't do it. He ended up going to be the offensive coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers instead. He wasn't going to join the Jets staff and be the play caller and not have the title of OC. So instead, really the only other card that they could play is this Downing card. I'm not saying it's a good one. It really isn't. But like in 2020, I keep making the joke, the Jets went from Adam Gase to Dowell Loggins for a little bit. It's like that same kind of change. You're hoping for a spark, and something else that you're hoping for, I think, is maybe a change in philosophy from the head coach impacts the play calling. I thought Robert Saleh was overly conservative, and the play calling was that exact case. Remember the race to 20 points that he had, that quote that he had against the Raiders, and they end up losing the game. That's how you lose games 15-10. That's how you lose games 10-9 this year, by playing with that kind of mindset. And my hope is that maybe Ulbrich being a little bit more aggressive impacts whether it's Nate Hackett or Todd Downing, and they change some things up. There's hope. I'm not saying that, oh my God, that this immediately puts them back into Super Bowl contention if they go to Jeff Ulbrich and Todd Downing. That's not like the greatest staff to ever be put together, but maybe it sparks change, and maybe that is what they need, and they do have the fifth easiest schedule remaining in the NFL through their final 12 games. So if they go 8-4, can they get hot and go 8-4 and finish 10-7 this year? That might be enough to win the AFC East. It might be enough to be a playoff team. As you look at 9 teams in the NFL with either in the AFC, with either 2 or 3 wins in the conference. So I don't know. That's what I'm keeping an eye on. I really would not be shocked at all if on Monday night it's Todd Downing who's actually calling the plays and not Nathaniel Hackett. But I'm glad that we got Aaron Rodgers' thoughts on the situation. Throughout the week, we will continue to cover the fallout. Who knows? Maybe something happens with Devontae Adams as well. And eventually we'll start getting ready to preview this Jets-Bills game because it's a very important one, as it's for first place in the division after all this. Crazy. Guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.